Well, as the world does start to wrap its head around the implications of generative artificial intelligence, the sort that's capturing people's imagination with apps such as ChatGPT, IT companies are seeking commercial solutions that could change the very things that you're seeing even right now. Now, one of those companies is Adobe, which already has some of the leading IT software. So think PDF files and Adobe Acrobat. Think, well, Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Premiere for video editing. Now, what happens, though, when these programs start to automate and create content from very basic commands? It could change the worlds of art, of movies and of advertising. And it starts with something they call Firefly. Simon Tate is the president of Adobe in the Asia Pacific, and I caught up with him this week.
This whole topic of generative AI has really exploded, Ross, in the last probably 2 years. But in the last 6 months, the innovation we've seen in this space is quite incredible. So let's put this into context for your viewers. Most people, I think, are familiar with artificial intelligence. It surfaces in almost every interaction we have with the companies you and I do business with right now.
Which is the thing, say, for example, I'm talking about something with you here about, I don't know, golf clubs, and all of a sudden I find that all of my social media is got advertising for golf clubs,
right? Which
it does.
Exactly. Now add generative to the topic of AI and we level up. I mean, what we see now with generative AI is quite incredible.
Which goes to the heart of ChatGPT, which is write me 1,000 words about the conversation that we're going to have with Simon Tate, and bingo, it's right there.
Right. But I think the opportunity is far bigger than our kids cheating on their history assessment using ChatGPT. What I see is an unlock of productivity, in particular with Australian businesses, if they really grasp the power of generative AI.
Okay, so explain where the productivity improvement is. Apart from I can sit there and I can see some of the tools that you have got and creating already. I can paint a line down a road that's not there. I can take out the cracks in a wall that I don't want to be there. I can suddenly artificially create a person, which is kind of scary, I've got to say.
Yes.
You can do a whole bunch of things. I've seen these videos that Adobe's put out.
Absolutely. So, look, there's something to be said for productivity gain in the creative process, as you pointed out. But if you think about the process of creating content, that content is normally created for a singular purpose, and that is to be able to market to you, either as a prospect or an existing customer. And what we want is for that content to be 100% personalised. So it has to be rich, engaging. The message on the golf clubs ideally needs to be personalised to the brand that you already like or love, or maybe the brand that you aspire to have. We can completely automate that content supply chain. And given how long it takes companies to create content, the process from creating content to monetising content, if I said to every company in the ASX 50 that I could halve the amount of time that it takes them to create that content and then monetize it, think what kind of productivity gain that would have.
All right, so I'm thinking about every creative department and every advertising agency in Australia, every film production unit that sweats over the edit and all that sort of stuff. I'm thinking that they're sitting there thinking, hang on, he's just talking about my job disappearing in the next 5 or 10 years' time.
Not so. So my view, Ross, is that we will move people up the value chain. Remember when generative AI was first talked about, there was no Cyberdyne apocalyptic event. You know, there were no mass job losses. All that happened is people reorientated to the part of their job that was high value. So if you think about the last mile of the creative process, that's where we see people going. What we're really doing is democratising a big part of that creative process.
And if you think about it, social media has already done that. So we see all sorts of creatives turning up on social media that may never have been there before, doing some truly innovative thing, generating, if you like, advertising leads and money for themselves. They were never there 10 years ago. This is part of, as you call it, the democratisation of the media these days. That increasingly is going to happen if you open up creative aspects of this to more people.
Absolutely. And just in Australia, Ross, this will blow your mind, just in the last 12 months, we added 6 million content creators. So the content creation industry is absolutely booming. And you see it all of the time on almost every social media platform. Everyone wants to be a content creator. Well, you know, part of our role is to make sure that we are continuing to fuel the content creation economy. But really what we're anchored to is making sure that that's done in a safe and responsible and ethical way.
Well, I guess that's the big issue, isn't it? Because when you can start to generate figures, the whole question of copyright comes into this as well. Did I genuinely create that content, or did your tools create the content? The copyright issue is always going to be kind of fascinating about who genuinely created in the first place.
Absolutely, and we've taken a leadership position on this. We created what's called the Content Authenticity Initiative. There are now 1,000 companies globally that have joined us in this initiative, and what it does is insert, think of provenance data, almost like a nutrition label on content, so that you as a consumer can look at that content and make your own decision about whether it's real or fake. If it's real, you know who created it, when they created it, whether generative AI has manipulated any or all part of that image from the date that it was created. So we've trained our AI models on commercially available imagery to make sure that intellectual property and copyright is absolutely protected.
Simon Tate, President of Adobe in the Asia Pacific, many thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Ross. Great to be here. Thank you.